Hi guys, this is Arvind. Welcome back to Python Fundamental Series. In this video, we'll look into functions in Python. Let's move on. So, what is function? A function is a block of organized reusable set of instruction that is used to perform some related actions. Basically, we are wrapping certain statements inside, related certain statement inside a function. So, let's see the types of function. So in functions, there are two types of functions in Python. One is user-defined function and built-in functions. So what are user-defined functions? So user-defined functions are created by users depending on our business logic to perform certain actions. For an example, if you see here, def add a comma b as an argument, a parameter, and def is the definition. So this is the syntax for writing a function in Python. Def add method, passing arguments a and b, and I'm performing certain action inside the function. So sum equal to a plus b. I'm returning from the sum. I'm expecting some output from this function. So basically I'm wrapping this statement inside this function, right? So these are user defined functions. So user defined functions are created as per our need depending on the business logic or business functionality. Built-in functions. So built-in functions are created by Python developers or maybe third-party libraries also there might be there. So contributors. So they also contribute creating the certain kind of functions to make developers life easy. So if you see, these are the some of the functions like which are already available in language that we can directly use in our code, like absolute value of a number or any function, or for example a range function we have used before in the last video to get the range from certain digits like 0 to 10. So there is also a function defined by Python. So these are built-in functions. There are lots and lots of built-in functions are there which help us to uh, utilize those functions instead of creating from the scratch. So next is lambda functions. This is not a type of functions, but it's a implementation way, the way of implementation. So lambda function is nothing but an anonymous function having no name. So that contain, lambda function, one restriction is that cannot contain more than one expression. So you cannot embed two expression in one. So that is the main constraint of the lambda functions. So these functions are like very important concepts in any language, not only Python, in any language. So if you want to accomplish any uh, goal or any business logic, so these functions are the main fundamental thing in the language. So if you want to understand the Python or any language, we should understand what kind of functions, what are functions, how we can utilize use functions, and what are lambda functions. This is the uh, anonymous function. So if you see in the diagram here, so we can define lambda x equal to lambda. This is syntax, and a, this is the parameter which is expecting, and this is the function actual functionality, actual logic or what we are expecting. So here lambda, this function expects one parameter a, and it will add the static value 10 and returns. So if you print this value, it gives the 5. So basically the advantage of lambda is it makes code simpler. You can see here, instead of writing multiple lines of code, you can execute in a single line of code. That is the one best thing from the lambda. Not only this one thing, but we can have multiple users as well. Let's see in the next slide. So functions versus lambda functions. So you can see here, this is the normal function, Python function def multiply x comma y. These are the arguments, and return x star y. So it will return these two values and gives us the output. The same way implementation in lambda or equal to lambda x comma y. These are the input parameters, and this is the actual functions or performing function or performing action. So x star y multiply and it returns. So while calling, we can directly call or of 12 comma 3, that gives the result 36. Output from the both method or a function type of function returns same value, but the way of writing. So this lambda gives us a linear way of writing code, and also there is a power of lambda, anonymous function inside another function. So the advantage of lambda, another advantage of lambda is, so it's something like it can keep the value in memory. For example, if you see here definition function, so you're expecting one parameter n and return lambda a plus n. So this value will be remained, n value will be remained same, and if you call this function again my sum, so it will automatically take that value n and it will multiply. Suppose if you print again my sum 12, then it gives 15, because it will remind this value in the end. So this is the one of the like uh, beauty of lambda. But the way, I mean, that depends on, there are lots of python developers who like like very much lambda, and they are very good in implementation lambda in a better way as well. Okay, let's see, let's move on to hands-on experience now. So I'll move to Visual Studio Code. So let me define one normal function. So the here problem statement is I want to write a one function which downloads file. So basically I am just giving an example to understand the uh, importance of functions in Python. Okay, so I'll define function download file. Okay, this is one file, download file. It accepts parameter as a URL. Okay, I'm wrapping up here certain statements or certain functions, like first print print establish connection. So this is the first statement. I'm not going to I'm not going to write a actual code for download file. I'm just stating all the steps which will perform inside this function when we call download file. Okay, so after this, next will be, once it's established the connection, it should open the connection, right? Open connection. Once it's open the connection, then it should download the URL, download file, right? So downloading, I'm just making certain statements, downloading, and once it is done, it should say the statement downloaded. Okay, so these are the certain statement or related function, related actions I just wrapped inside one function. So if I want to call this method now, if I want to call this function, I just call this one. Okay, I'll just put here https, okay, google.com. Okay, I just pass one URL. So if I run this application now, what will happen? So it will print all the steps: establish connection, open connection, downloading, downloaded. Sorry, I forgot, this is a typo error. Okay, so establishing connection, open connection, downloading, and downloaded. Finally file be downloaded. So in this function, like, I have wrapped all these logical piece in one functions. Suppose if I want to call once again, like with one more file, I just can create like this. So I no need to repeat whole statements here. I can simply call and pass a value as an argument. So this is the advantage of functions in any language. So we can wrap all those relative statements in one block. So this is the advantage of functions. Let's move on now, some of the lambda function, how it advantages, how it works. So let me define first one lambda function. Let me define one multiply equal to, I'm just defining lambda. Okay, let me do one def normal function. Okay, def, here I'll put here x comma y method, and here return, okay, x star y. Okay, so here I'll just return xy, and here I'll print. I'm just using print here. Multiply, I'm calling the method. I just want to, I'm using print because I want to print the value or output from these functions 2 comma 1. Okay, when I run this one, so value is 2. This is what we expected, right? So let's assume like if I want to do same thing using lambda, so what I will do here, multiply equal to, I create a one lambda function here, lambda, that is a syntax lambda, and I have to define the arguments now, x comma y colon, an actual function or a logic or an action. So here I am doing x star y. So by default it returns now the value. So now if I want to print this one, print mult, I'm quite bad in naming convention, but for the demo I just given like we can give some other name as well, multiply lambda. Okay, it's better to keep like this. So I'll just here keep this one. Okay, so 2 comma 1. So I have written same logic, but the way of implementation is different. That's all. If I run now here, the value output from both should be 2 2. Yeah, this is perfect, what we expected. So lambda help us to write the code in a more simplest way. Okay, so let's see, let's assume like another way of advantage of lambda. So now I just mentioned like something it will keep in memory, right? So let's see how it works. So I have here multiply by 2, right? Let me define one method. Okay, here only I'll change it here. So I'll return here, I'll remove y, I'll keep x, return lambda. Okay, lambda, I will define y here, colon, I am defining only one variable over here, y colon, y equal to y colon x star y. Okay, this is the multiply. Now I am passing here multiply only one. Okay, so multiply I am passing only one, that is the x value. I am not passing the y value. Now what I will do, so I'll just do this one, multiply uh, reference to lambda, I'll keep it here equal to this one. Okay, so I'm assuming now what I will do, I will pass this value here, I'll pass 1. Okay, now let's see what will happen. So the thing is like in multiply I'm not passing this value, but I'm passing over here 2, right? If I keep this one now, if I run this one, so result should be 2, right? I will change the value here. I'll pass 20. Okay, now what will happen? So now also I'm not passing value of x, I'm not changing the value of x, but it will take the value, right? So here in the multiply I'm passing only argument x, and x will be multiplied by y, whatever we passing. So this is the value of y. So this is simplest example I just provided here to understand how it works on a power of lambda, but we can utilize this lambda function in better way in when we come across like complex business logic. Thank you for watching this video.